DC area, near the water. Your day is flowing at its own pace where you get to direct your energy and your time, and you time block, you carve out spaces where you are intentionally productive in executing certain work, and you're carving out time where you're doing other things. What are the other things that you are prioritizing in your life?
Ooh, spending time with chosen family, friends that live in that area, uh, engaging with Avery,
That's your son.
figuring out, sorry, Avery's my son, finding him a good school community where he can thrive and come into his voice and swim and, embrace a new chosen family. Uh, there's travel. We would figure out some type of way to distance learn for travel, or, have some type of support system that would allow me to travel a certain extent.
This. How does your body feel?
Right now?
No, girl, we in the manifesting. How does her body feel?
She ready.
She
She,
ready?
she, she just feel ready. Yeah.
How, is
She's
she moving her
vibing.
body? Is she engaging
She's
with any types of
vibing.
activities that make her body
Oh,
feel good?
Zumba. She's getting her
Ooh.
dance fitness on. She's doing her African dance at Dance Place in Northwest. Uh, she's going to Eastern Market or the farmers market and getting fresh foods and just being a collective community. Yeah, she's thriving.
Girl,
It's a
yes.
good look.
How was her spiritual community?
Mm. Now, that will be interesting. I believe that in searching for or looking for online communities, a lot of the people that I found live in that area. So I feel like I would be able to do more of what I've been doing online, hopefully in an in-person community. So yeah, she's taking her time to sit under a tree and hug it,
Mm.
grounding, honoring that I'm there and I made it back to there because I knew I wanted to be there. And
I
yeah.
love this. You are connected both online because you're in control of your day and you don't have to, and in person because coming together, and sharing that energy with like vibe people is something that you're
Mhm.
able to do. And you're grounding, you're going outside, you're talking to spirit in the trees and in the bushes, and like, this is real, God. What's up?
Wherever I am, spirit is. We are.
Okay.
We are.
So this is where you're starting, where you're going, but what's standing in the way right now? Because you, of so many people who I have spoken to, you were able to paint that picture so easily, like so clearly. Really, like it wasn't like pulling teeth. So what that tells me is that you have thought about this for quite some time. This is not new to you,
Mm-mm.
right? And
I
you've
think it's not
imagined,
new to me, but mm,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
it's not new to me because I feel like I've always held it in the recesses of my mind.
Mhm.
And I
What are you thinking?
I feel like I gave her up, or that when I made the choice to move here, that was the choice. Like, that's a different life. You're choosing to do this life.
And when did you choose to move to Mississippi? Was it when your son was born or?
When he was born. Hmm.
Okay, so you've been there for 14 years.
Yes and no. So I came here, I tried for a little while, and I was like, yeah, no, I can't do this. I moved to near Memphis for like 3 years, working in a hospital. So I would commute back and forth, but he stayed with my mom. She was his primary caregiver for those first 3 years.
Mm.
Then I moved to Frisco for a year and then came back to Mississippi 2016 or 17. Lost track of time.
Okay. When you said, I think I gave her up, I want to explore that a little bit more. I want to know why. The reason why isn't because you chose to move to Mississippi. You chose to move to Mississippi because you wanted help. You chose to move to Mississippi because X, Y, and Z, right? Now, there is a disconnect between, and anytime we experience disconnection, I mentioned this before, that's the response of trauma. Like trauma and disconnectedness are the same. Anytime you're experiencing a level of disconnect in any realm of your life, whether it's spiritual disconnectedness, mental, physical, emotional, relational, financial, whatever, that means that there is a trauma gap in that space. And so that trauma gap is producing results, but it's producing results out of your best intention to survive. So I want you to soak that up for just a moment. I need us to sit in this in a moment. This is very important to the identifying process, to the awareness and the honesty and the authenticity process, is because if we can extend compassion and a knowing that we always at all times had the best intention for ourselves, we can give ourselves a little grace so that we can get more curious versus judgmental. And we can say, okay, well, if I give myself the benefit of her highest intention and she was responding to maladapted situations, why did she believe at that time? What were the thoughts that she held and knew to be true that made her feel that this was the best course of action? Because when we can approach it in that way, and we can start to get really curious, like, well, what did I believe about my situation at the time? What did I believe about myself? What did I believe about my abilities? And why did I believe that? Well, probably because something valid happened in my life where I formed that opinion to keep me safe. And so I just kind of followed that thought model and, it kind of kept me alive for a while, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So let's just kind of go there. Like, what did you believe about yourself when you went back, right? That made you
Mm-hmm.
feel like you had to give that life up so that you could survive?
That I just don't get things right.
Mm,
Um, so it was better to go somewhere with other people so I wouldn't mess him up.
mm,
Like, have guardrails or something. With that
mm,
said, coming here is I brought him to my trauma. I brought him to the people uh, that hurt me.
mhm. Let's go back to that just a little bit. You are so, like, I try my very best to articulate and communicate what maybe you don't hear inside so you can hear it from the outside and give it back. You are so clear in being able to cut to the truth of what's happening in your heart and in your mind. That is a gift. It might not feel like it to say the words out loud that I don't get things right and I wanted to protect him from me. I didn't want to mess him up. So I wanted to give him to someone else, right? But when you thought that, how did you feel in that moment? Like how does thinking about like, man, I'm messing up, I'm not getting this shit right, how did that feel in your body? if you could go back to that moment?
Like stifling, like
Mm. Yeah, keep.
almost an implosion. Like
Mm.
I, it was that self-fulfilling thing. Like something happened to me. Now I got this kid on the way that I attract bad things.
Mm.
Or like this, these things happen to me because of me.
And when you thought that, like, because I know you believed it to be true in that moment, right? Because you were looking at what you considered to be evidence around you. You were looking at, well, obviously this is happening because of me, right? But to think that that feeling, the one made you feel like kind of stifled and trapped, but how did that thought really vibrate through your body? To
That this
believe
is
that,
happening because
yeah, to believe that I attract bad things feels like what in the body?
dark, like I should isolate myself from everyone.
Mm.
Because why would I be around other people if
Mm.
bad things happen to me? Then I would bring that to others. And it's just best not to.
Okay. So I want to share something with you, which is just so powerful. Let me tell you how this works. So thought models, I didn't get into detail with this in the webinars that you've been to, but I teach this in my private coaching and I teach it in the Build Without Burnout, the cohort, the mass cohort. But it's really the decision-making model. It is a model that I use that helps me to dissect and to debrief very complex scenarios, right? So our emotions feel complex. They come and they go without us asking them to. We're like, what the hell is this feeling in my body that I can't control? We have over 60,000 thoughts every 60 seconds. Who has time to be filtering all this? This shit is confusing. Human beings are a mess. Okay. Like
Hot mess. Yeah.
hot mess.
Well,
And so to then try to engage with the hot mess of it, it's like it feels overwhelming. Like I can't do nothing with this. I'm just trying to stay alive
throw
today.
my hands. Mhm.
Period.
Breathe.
Now, what the decision-making model does is it's like a formula. I think about it like a math formula, right? If I were to take
Okay.
a soup of numbers and I were to like take out those numbers and put it into its proper section in this model, it will help me make it make sense. Like, oh shit, okay, I can see that. That's the story. That's what that
Okay.
is. So really,
Okay.
it's a tool to help with reflection to say, oh, this is actually the circumstance, which is neutral. Like it's not good, it's not bad, but this is what I made it mean. And because I made
Hmm.
it mean that, this is what that belief creates in my body in terms of feeling. And when the body is generated in feeling, it is going to move in a direction, in one direction or another. And when it moves in those directions and it does those actions, it always creates a result. That's just what it is. Now, we often only see the result. We only recognize the
Hmm.
result. Maybe we recognize the action, and we usually recognize all of the other stuff around us that are neutral. But
Hmm.
because we don't have this formula to help separate and sort things and put it in its proper context so that we know, oh, that's outside of my control. It's good that it's outside of my control. I don't have to make it mean nothing good or bad. Let me not waste mental space on that. This is in my control. I can give myself empathy for that. And guess what? I decide, I don't want it anymore. I'm going to flip it. I'm going to do something like that. So it allows you to restructure, to address, to
Hmm.
acknowledge, to then accept or reject, and then to reconstruct the thought models that create the results in our lives.
Hmm.
Make sense?
Okay. Uh-huh. It does.
Okay. So in listening to where you are, where you've been or where you want to go versus the thing that's standing in your way, it's the thought model of I don't get things right and I attract bad things. Those two thoughts have transmuted themselves and have shown up in different ways and in different spaces across your experience, and they're creating different results. But specifically as it relates to maybe why you haven't yet gone to Maine, like you will by the time I'm done fucking with you. Hey,
I'm ready. I'm
okay.
ready.
It's because when you think those thoughts and you don't even know that you're thinking them, they're at our body. Okay, I'm trying to remember the percentage. I want to say like 80% of the communication, like the thought communication that comes out of our body that triggers emotion, is not in our brain. It's
Mm.
stored in our physical body.
Mm.
Fight or flight, right? You know how they're, like you said, you're on autopilot. There's things you can do without consciously thinking about it.
Yep.
That's because our body stores memory, because our bodies are freaking miraculous beings that adapt to things so we don't have to do it. So that same thing is actually in play when you are processing the thought, I don't get things right and I attract bad things. What that does is that produces the vibration in your
Evidence.
body that a
Mhm.
lot, it produces the evidence, absolutely, but it produces a vibration in your body that's like uh dark, trapped, enclosed, and stifling. It's a very low, constricted vibration, right? And so your default, when your body is in that mode, that vibration, is to isolate yourself,
Mhm.
right? It is to reject and it's to isolate, but more, I think importantly, even in the isolation, it is to actually give the responsibility of choice away. You
Mm.
say, if I attract bad things and bad things happen when I make a decision to do something, I can't trust that.
Mm.
So I have to protect myself,
Ooh.
everyone else, from my decisions. So therefore, who can I go to who will make choices for me? My mom will. My auntie will. These other
Ooh.
individuals will. So then the action that you do is to give your responsibility away. It's no wonder
My
that you're
agency.
like, oh
Yeah.
shit, my voice isn't showing up. I'm not using my voice. There's a reason for that,
Mm.
right? And so
Wow.
then the result is that you bring your son to the trauma, or that you stay in the trauma, because it's the only natural result that can come when you are actively deselecting to use your voice and actively selecting for others to make the decisions for you, not even consciously recognizing that that's what you're doing.